Why would you go with the atheist banner instead of using the agnostic one?
Well, because to me, just using agnostic implies that maybe God is real, maybe God isn't real, and both are equally possible
Right.
scenarios. So I don't like to make that because I am on the number scale of belief, low being 1 and high being 99. I'm like way down, like 1 or 2, probably a 1. So I'm so close to being a strong, I'm basically a strong belief, strong, whatever,
Right.
agnostic atheist, but I'm low on the scale.
Well, that's exactly what I'll say this because when I was younger, I used to call myself a hardcore atheist, right?
Yeah.
And then I had like a really crazy experience. I would call it like I saw like a miracle, and then I became like agnostic, because the position of the atheist is like you are believing that there's no God, right? But you're still kind of like in the same belief system of the other side that is like, no, we do believe that there's a God, but in either case, they can't have any proofs of this, so it's kind of like
Right.
pointless.
People
But
define the word two different ways. So that's why it's always a good idea to ask people what they mean by it. Because some people will define it as you believe that there is no God, and other people will say that you believe there can't be a God, which is a
okay,
harder position.
right,
So
we're
that's
still
why
in the
that's
realm
why I throw the agnostic in there, because nobody can know
where
100%, frankly, on the atheist or the theist side. But
right.
we can be real high or real low.
Yeah, I'm just pointing out that we're still in the belief system. Me jumping to the agnostic, I'm kind of like implying that I'm living empirically, right? So by the time I do live the miracle, then I can say like, oh well, now I know. It's not like I believe or not. It's like
Well,
now I'm
no,
certain.
you can't know, because I mean the same thing. If belief is 100, it goes at the top of the scale. You cannot be at 100 because you're only mortal. You can only know so much, and you can't know with absolute certainty. So the highest you can get is 99. So you can be there. That's fine. So
Well, I'm just making a distinction between the mindset of like I believe something and I know
yeah,
something, right? It's
that's
like
the same.
it's
That's kind of the same thing. Because
mm,
again, use this. I gotta get a number line slide, because once you cross 50%, once you get up to 51, now we call this belief. All right. So fit belief is from 51 to 99. And knowing and believing are essentially the same thing. Knowledge is justified true belief. You're justified somehow, therefore you believe. And yeah, once you're justified, that gets you above the 51%. And now you have a belief. Knowing, we have to get into the definition of knowledge. So at this level of belief and versus know, that those are essentially synonyms.
mm, yeah, it will be hard for me to like agree with that because we need that distinction, right? Because there's definitely a difference between just you kind of just like guessing another aspect of you
Okay.
knowing that there's like this result, right?
Well, let
So
me go ahead. Sorry.
no, I'm just I think here is a thing of semantics, right? Of like you're like we're
Oh,
choosing to use to just throw both into the same category or
okay.
somehow, but I mean that's kind of like I think the the difference between all this like mindsets, right? Because
Okay.
there is like the ones that are like pretty sure because that's how I understand an atheist like Richard Dawkins or something, right? He's like,
Right.
I'm fucking telling you that there's no God, and
No,
it's like,
he does not. He does not. There's something called the Dawkins scale, and he defines it from 0 to 7. And
okay,
and this again, you can't get to this to I forget it's the high or the low. You can't get to the 7 because 7 means there is no God, and he says he's a 6 because he doesn't know for absolute. None of us can. So it's one step up.
right. So he's
But
saying that he kind of
colloquially, I was having trouble with that word. Um, he does say that, but it depends if we want to talk colloquial or if we want to talk in in more philosophy terms. Okay, so let me go into knowledge for a second, and because this might help in the belief research, there is something called credence. All right, so credence is is basically how sure you are. So it's kind of like the opposite of doubt. Okay.
Okay.
So if you have so again, if you're on this belief scale from 51 to 99 and you're up at like 90, then your credence is very high and your doubt is only 10%. So that's
Okay.
a high credence, and then lower credence would be like at 51 or 60 or 70 or whatever. So it's the confidence in the belief.
Okay.
So now, see, obviously this is a fuzzy range, right? It's just a continuous range. So at what point do we want to call this knowledge? If this is the only terms we're using. So from your perspective, what do you think? What would you call from 51 to 99? At what point would you call this belief knowledge? How high does it have to be?
I'm
There's
not
no
sure
wrong
if
answer. There's no wrong answer.
yeah, I'm not sure if I follow the scale system, but I'm guessing that like if you're up there in the 90s, you're fucking pretty sure, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Like I
yeah,
say, I got
so
to get a slide up here to make this a little more visually understandable. I'm kind of the same way. It takes me some
yeah.
visual to get
Well,
to follow, but
let me change the kind of like the question. Maybe I just want to like pick your brain of like how do you um visualize then like the the lack of God? How do you like explain the situation that we are in?
well, what situation?
Just
There's a lot of
just
ways to describe.
like imagine total existent on one side of the coin and like nothingness on the
Yeah.
other.
Okay.
So what's going on?
The only thing we can't, there's two things we can't explain. No, there's three things we can't explain right now. What initiated the Big Bang, why the laws of physics are what they are, and the transition from inorganic life to organic, or
Right.
from inorganic chemicals to organic life.
Yeah.
Those are the three knowledge gaps currently. But we know the rest pretty much pretty well.
Okay. Yeah.
So
Terence McKenna used to say that the science they would just say like, just give me one miracle and I can explain everything after that.
no,
That's the Big Bang,
no,
right?
no. That's what theists do. Well, is he a theist,
I'm not sure. He was
Terence,
just
or
like
is that a scientist? I mean, the point is
just a poet.
that if the scientists don't do that, they don't say, "Give me one miracle." They say, "I don't know," and
Right.
they hold their acknowledgement of that ignorance point until they're justified to do otherwise. A
Yeah.
theist will say, "Just give me one miracle, and then we're good." Matter of fact, a
Yeah.
friend of mine did that, who is a strong theist. He's a young Earth creationist. Even he said, "Is I was asking him fairly simple questions about how do you believe things like Adam and Eve are even possible? They don't make sense. The global flood, all this stuff." And
Right.
he said that really all you have to do is buy the fact that God exists and can do anything, and then the rest of it makes sense. I was like, well, that's
Right.
a useless explanation.
Well,
Talk
I'm just
about
comparing.
a free
Right.
pass.
Yeah, it just feels kind of like the same metaphor of like the Big Bang is kind of like and light was made or whatever the Bible says, like and light
Yeah.
happened. So they're basically talking about the same thing. It's just like
Well,
existence starts and we can't really.
but they're not. We know what the Big Bang was, and light was not at the beginning of the Big Bang. The Big Bang was just an expansion of plasma, a rapid expansion of plasma. There were no particles. It wasn't even quarks yet. It was
But
just
even for you,
plasma
like,
energy.
doesn't it sound insane? Like you're just saying like something came out of nothing.
No, because now you're talking, when you say something came out of nothing, now you're talking about how the bang initiated. And
Right.
either, I don't know if something can come out of nothing. I don't know what nothing means. I mean, if we absolutely say nothing by definition means nothing can change, there's no potential and nothing just means nothing forever, then yes. But there are hypotheses of the universe being cyclical and eternal, which takes away the whole nothing, something from nothing problem, because it was just always here, just like the God hypothesis of God was always here.
Right.
So, you know, so that
Yeah.
solves that problem, but it doesn't mean that we know that that's the case. It means that there's a hypothesis there, but it's still a point of ignorance.
Yeah.
The problem is on the theist side, where they take the God hypothesis and assert it to be true, when they are just as ignorant about that as we are about multiverses and stuff.
Of course. Yeah, I
Because
don't know.
these are things we can't test.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I don't adhere to any religion per se, but I kind of like look at them all through like mythology lenses, of like most of this are not um, like the physical descriptions or such historical documents, more like metaphors and such that they're just kind of like guiding us, right? Like from the past towards the future, I guess. But yeah,
Guiding us.
yeah, because we gather wisdom through these stories, right? So we
Well,
can,
we gather. Well, I don't know about wisdom. Let's say knowledge, but
yeah, yeah, you can call it knowledge or
but
wisdom.
I'm not quite sure what wisdom is, to be perfectly honest.
Well, I'm
Um,
just thinking of like
but
very
but
very old like
yeah,
parables and
yeah,
stories that are like compelling, the oldest books you can find, and
right.
they're like talking about like certain cyclical things that happen to us as a planet. So you are like kind of prepared for that. So yeah, it's kind of knowledge,
But you got to understand that those were written in a time of vast ignorance. So why would you prefer teachings from something that's very old to teachings from something that is updated with new information?
Well, I would say that that's kind of like an arrogant stance because, to my understanding, it seems to be that I feel that civilization in the past they were highly more advanced than us. Like that's my
Oh, I'm
perception.
sorry, I missed the word arrogant. You said okay.
Yeah, yeah. It's just like
I
we
thought you
think
said errant.
we're kind of like in a pinnacle of like of everything that ever happened. But I think we might be mistaken because
Well, we are though. We are at a. We're not at an end point. We're never at an end point, right? Because tomorrow we're
right,
going to learn something new. So there's always
absolutely,
that much more. But I mean, our ability to know things is more now. And at any point, at any now point, is more. We have more tools to work with. We don't have to reinvent the wheel, right? We don't have to
right.
reinvent every little thing because those things have already been determined and proven to whatever degree. Maybe we'll improve upon the knowledge of it
Yeah,
to
don't get me
maybe we'll
wrong. I'm
increase
not
our credence over time.
right.
But
Don't get me wrong. I don't think that we're like completely in the dark, but I'm just thinking that to my understanding, like there's some like just take for example the creation of the pyramids in Egypt, right? It's like such a
okay,
mind-boggling project. Like we cannot with everything we have in technology replicate that thing, and it's just like
uh,
a clear indication that we might be like still on the way to understand other civilizations, that we have to take into account that it's not like we know everything that happened. Like I think we have that perception that we kind of like understand our whole history, but I think there's a lot of things that are still like missing, like period.
there are gaps. But let's talk about the pyramids for a second. I mean, some people say that we do know how to did it now. Let's just say we don't. That doesn't really change anything because if somebody knew how to do something in the past and that knowledge was lost, this is what the
Right.
great part about science is. Eventually, that will be figured out again,
Yeah.
right?
I wait for that
So,
day. That will be an indication that we are actually like getting to that level, right? So
yeah,
for the
so
moment,
it doesn't mean necessarily that we should take the vast number of things that were written in the past as probably true. I mean, you go read
no.
Aristotle or the
Yeah.
experiments of Aristotle, and you'll find all sorts of things that we know now to be false, and it made sense to him.
Yeah.
He was
Absolutely.
theorizing or hypothesizing like body humors and things like that,
Yes.
and it made sense in a simplistic way. And then we figured out eventually that blood
Yeah.
and lymph and these types of things, we know what they are now, and they're not the things that he described, but he
Right.
made a good guess in his day.
Yeah, I have this sense that I think is like we might be inclined to be this type of human at this moment, right? And the other civilization might have like been different, like so different that our like mental model that we use cannot comprehend what those humans were like capable of. And
Why would you think that? Why would you
um,
think we're inclined to essentially go backwards or assuming that we're not talking about aliens here,
right,
that humans of the past were somehow
more advanced.
vastly superior or advanced in some way?
Right.
Why
Well,
would you possibly think that?
well, I guess for some empirical experience I've had, I came to that sort of conclusion. But to make it short, I guess it's just like a wild guess. But my feeling is that it, it probably was the case. Like I just like don't understand
Wild
really.
guess.
Right. Right. Wait. Can you ask me your question again? I lost my thought.
I'm not seeing why you have confidence in older stuff, thinking that they knew more than we know now.
Oh, okay. So yeah, this is again, right? We are in the realm of belief, right? It's not like I have like some solid proof that I can like turn it around or
Yeah.
whatever. But uh, I think it comes from the observance or like the aspect of analyzing this type of structures, right? Like the pyramids and the older the structures, it's like they seem to be doing something that we just don't, we're not able to comprehend, right? And there's
Like
this
what? Like what? I mean, really, the only mystery about them, and I think we have some of this figured out now, but let's just give that for a second. The only mystery we have about them is basically how they lifted up the stones and stuff like that, and we think it was all
yeah,
done with ramps now, but
okay, that's that you can see it that way. But well, it's clear that a lot of the civilizations were like highly like they were interacting with outer space, right? They're
mm,
aligned
mm,
with a lot of like constellations and star movements, and they were like, and it makes sense, right? Because they didn't have like TV or books or whatever. Like they were really highly
yeah.
engaged with how the universe worked, right? Thing that we don't do at all. Like you can stop anybody in the street and they would fucking barely know, well, what the hell is the
Well,
moon.
we don't
But
do much of that because there's not that much that's useful in some of the stuff that they did. I mean, aligning
what?
aligning the exit of a pyramid to like the sundown on the spring equinox or something like that.
Right.
It's a cool thing to do, but it doesn't accomplish anything. So
Come on, Phil. You think they did that
these
just because they thought it was cool?
no, I think that they had superstitious beliefs, and
Oh.
that's why they did it.
Well, that's the thing. That's I'm just saying, right? Like to me, I can't take that stance because it's like I just like I don't think they would do this like humongous task. They're like hardly we are hardly able to explain how the hell happened to
Yeah.
just have like some hint or something. That's what I saying that like maybe we were like a type of human that we just cannot comprehend with the current mindset we have, right? It's just like
All right.
looking to something
Yeah.
it's hard to comprehend because we are not behaving at all in that way.
Yeah,
But but I
I'm just
mean,
not getting the basis for it. I see that you're making the connection, but I'm not seeing the
right.
basis for the connection. That's what
Well,
I'm trying to say.
they're clearly not only like a planet civilization. They are like going beyond, right? Because they're taking into account like the universe or whatever they can manage to
Yeah.
see with their eyes. I don't know if they had like instruments to see farther, for all we know. But I want to like point out too that like if we're missing gaps and there's a possibility that there's like a civilization that there's no trace of it, and it could have been like wiped out by like some cosmic event or something, and we're just like like lost all that information. It could have been as advanced as we are now and maybe even more, and as big as we are and maybe even more.
But
And
see, why are you going from it could have been to it's most likely to be true? That's the thing that I'm puzzled
no, no,
about.
no, no, of course, like I would never claim
Because we can sit here
truthness
and go
to
could
any
have
of
been
this.
about all sorts of things all day, and it would be fun, but
Right.
it wouldn't
I,
really get us anywhere,
I
and
mean,
nobody would know that they're right.
well, that's the thing. Like, I mean, I don't think it's about right or wrong, right? If you see the experience of existence, it kind of applies to any individual, right? And it depends a lot in what society they're just like happen to be born, and whatever that kind of like mixed together, and then it creates this human, right? Like you and me, like you are like whatever you were born with, and like people around you, and the beliefs and the things you do, and all that, right?
Yeah.
So you're not right or you're not wrong. You're
Well, I
human,
want
and
to
you're.
be right. I want to be right. I mean,
But can you be right?
I'm reading Sean Carroll. I can be as right as I can be. especially given
Yeah,
the
but I
available
mean, it's
modern
like I'm
knowledge.
saying, yeah, it's like kind of me saying like, well, I read Jesus, of course I'm right, or like I read the Bible. A lot of people say this kind of thing. So
No,
like,
no, no,
well,
no. You're right, because when something is tested and it's been shown to be true, or if you can make something from it, like you can engineer something based on that
right, right,
information, or you can predict something like we're going to find a planet over there because
right,
these other planets over here are moving a little weird. So we have this
gotcha.
hypothesis that points to there's a gravity point over
Yeah.
here.
So another
So
question, Phil. Once you mention that, it makes me want to ask you. Do you consider the possibility of the spirit or the soul? And what do you think about that? Do you have
yeah,
one? What was that?
I don't have any reason to think that we do have one. Again, it's one of those things that you can't say as an absolute, but I see no reason to believe that we do have a soul.
Where are you in the scale?
Oh, way down on that one, like this
Like
bottom of
one or
scale,
two?
the one, yeah, late bottom of scale on that one.
Oh, that explains a lot. Like, I mean, I think that's the dichotomy between like, well, I don't know. Like in my case, like I said, I consider myself an agnostic. I just live empirically. I only know what I experience. All the rest to me is like maybe, to the point that I'm just like,
That's awfully limiting, though, isn't it? I mean, there's
you
so
think?
many other people who know more than we do, in terms of
Yeah, but
what
I
they've
don't
been
know that
educated,
people.
what you can read about them, and you can look
Yeah,
them up on the internet. I mean,
yeah,
you got AI now. You can type into Google and
oh,
say, what is the
absolutely.
consensus on X
Yeah,
Y
yeah, yeah.
Z?
That's all that is good. I'm just saying that like I'm not gonna like go and really make my arguments because I read some book. It's just like whatever really happens to me, that's what I really take into like a
All right,
golden shrine. Like that's what is really true to me, right? Because I'm fucking certain of it because I lived it and I can
all right,
understand it. But if it's like a third party experience, right? Like I consider it, I might use that information. I might like, but I'm not just like so hardcore about it, right? Like I'll listen to people, of course, and
yeah.
enjoy very very much their take on stuff. But I'm not like because I cannot be them, right? I cannot have their experience. If they come and they tell me like, look, I freaking saw an alien come down and
But
do this thing.
what makes you distrust the ability to learn from other people? I really don't quite get that.
Yeah. Well, I think we do learn, want it or not, right? Because you have your parents, and like you learn
You
from
want
Well,
to
I'm
their
come
talking.
back in, huh?
Hey, Lenny. So I'm talking about
well.
experts. Why can't you learn? Why aren't you willing to learn from experts in other fields?
I mean, it's not like I'm negated to that idea. I'm just not gonna like hold them as above my own experience, right? Because an expert can come
Why?
and tell
Why? Because
because
I mean,
because they because I can call
you go
myself
to the
an expert.
doctor when you go to the doctor when you're sick because they know more than you do about sickness.
Right.
So what?
Yeah, that could that
Right,
could that
Lenny?
could be a key.
So why wouldn't you go to a physicist about a question of
And especially
of
when you're talking about
physics?
a physicist, yeah.
Right. Yeah. I'm not against it. I'm not saying like that it's not applicable or you cannot do that or nothing like that.
Well,
I'm just saying that I put my like empirical experience above anything because that's
Wow.
all I'm certain of. That's just what I'm saying,
that's
because
all you've allowed yourself to be a part of.
if
You
I
haven't,
go to
you haven't experienced anything else. You haven't gone and looked for other answers from different people who are in the scientific community.
Yeah.
yeah, that's the I'm like I mean I'm not going to use the science as another religion, like it's the idea of like somebody that is going to like well I'm going to tell you my experience about Jesus and I'm going to believe that experience to be the thing. I don't hold that. But if
Can I
I
ask you
talk
a question
with
then?
what if I talk with Jesus myself, it's a
Well,
different game.
so who have you talked to about Jesus?
Me? No, I don't know what you mean.
Who have you in your life, who have you experienced talking about Jesus?
I don't know, random people, like there's people that stop you in the street and want to talk about Jesus.
Do they have any experience? Do they have a field in theology?
Maybe they do.
Did you ask them?
No, no, not really.
So you have no idea of their expertise.
No, I
Good
mean,
point.
I take into account like what their experience. Like I take it for what it is.
Do you think people are
And,
liars?
yeah, I think we do live a sacred lie. like every.
Sacred lie? What does that sacred lie mean?
Well, it's the exact thing that I was telling you about. Like you're like born into a situation, right? So you use this mask, right, to function in society, and it's a sacred lie, right? Because
No,
you have a
I
name.
don't use a
I
sacred
don't
lie.
think there's a mask in either one of us. Yeah.
Well, Phil thinks that is Phil, and Phil
So,
thinks that is like from
do you
United
think that
States.
those people that you would talk to had a secret lie around them? Do you think that they lied about their experiences to maybe influence you?
Could be. I don't know. Like I mean, the last time I talked with one, like I said, I'm not worried about that because I know who I am. It's not like it's gonna like make any difference. I just respect their time, right? Because they're like trying to like convey something to me. So I'll give them a second to consider whatever story it is, and
What were they
yeah,
trying to
just,
convey upon you?
I mean, usually the idea is to like I guess get you in their flock, right? In their community.
Do they ask you for money?
I think that comes later.
So they do.
Not always. I mean,
Yeah.
think of it as what could you use that you don't know how to do? I mean, plumbing or something like
Yeah,
that.
maybe I got a lot. I got a little off topic there. My bad.
It's okay, Lanny. You're fine, and you're welcome to interact. So there's no problem at all. So I mean, if if you don't know something about plumbing, you go to a plumber. I don't understand why it's I'm going to consult a plumber and consider his opinion, but then ultimately I'm going to try to figure it out myself.
No, I don't think I'm saying that, Phil. I'm just implying that, like, as a human experience, like I'm born into this riddle. Like, I have no fucking clue what is going on. Honestly, like, it's just like overwhelming the whole situation, right? But
Yeah,
something
it's
that
big.
that
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
that
none of
is.
us do.
Yeah, exactly. None of us do. Yeah, that's my stance as agnostic. It's just like I come to the realization that all I have is my experience. Like, and I can't even relate that to anyone. Like, I'm trying here with words, right? It's just like mouth noises and like who knows what the hell you guys are even like transforming these words into, right? But it's not what I'm like actually. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, so I practice painting. I'm an artist, right? So I convey and I transform this like experiences into some sort of communication in the attempt to extrapolate that experience, right? But it's all futile because it is, in a sense,
I think you're doing a decent
very
job.
Yeah.
difficult to like
Well, your art's
assimilate
not
it.
futile. I mean,
Thank you.
And I think your
art.
words
No,
aren't
no, no, no.
futile either.
Of course it's
Yeah.
not.
You're when you're doing art, I mean, everybody's different, but you're trying to express something, and maybe it's something you can't verbalize, and I mean that's why you do art in some ways.
Yeah.
And of course, then there's always the interpretation of the viewer, right? Whatever's in the eye of the beholder, and that's kind of one of the cool things. It is sort of triggering and intuitive impressions and things like that.
Yeah.
And maybe you have a message that it was intended, and maybe it will get across, and maybe they'll read a different message into it. So there's value to that because it's
Absolutely.
like you're triggering thought, you're triggering emotion and things like that. And words,
Yeah.
to what Lanny said, words kind of do that too, but it's more specific. It's less intuitive, and it's more direct.
Yeah. Yeah. I
So,
don't want to come by as like I don't know convey that that is like I mean if anything I do I think that's the most valuable thing somehow because it just helps to continue the experience and makes it like I don't know in my own assessments I think humans are created to kind of like do art because everything can be an art form, right? Or whatever, like even if you wake up you have to kind of create your day, like you have to imagine some shit and then like go about it, so you're kind of a creator already, but obviously we have a system that dampers that, right? Like right now is like we're living in this like just capitalist kind of movement that is just like putting money over people.
Can I say something real quick? The only thing that doesn't damper that is exactly what you just said, because you get to put your own input in and find out the results, and that is the absolute impact of science, of putting out an input or putting an output out and finding an input.
Yeah, it's kind of like
Yeah.
asking the universe, right?
Well, no, it's like test. You can test something, and then you learn from that test. The result gives you information that you didn't have before.
So you may try something one day, and it may not work, and the next day, maybe it works a little better, and you get better at it. That is science 101.
Yeah, I'm not against science. Like, I mean, I think there's a lot of uses of science, like a great tool that we have. I'm not against religion. I'm not against mythology. I'm not against anything. I'm all for everything to have its place. But it's obviously uh, creating a lot of conflicts between us. This imaginary concepts, right, that we create for us. It only becomes dangerous, I think, when we band together to kind of like defend one of these abstract thoughts to the level of like war or something, right? We were just gonna kill each other because of this concept, right? Like especially like the Christian concept to me, like I would like to consider myself like a Christian. Like I like the mythos, like I think it's a really useful one, and I see it that it repeats all around history worldwide, and it's just called different names, and it has different like entities that represent it in different times, but they're basically talking about the same spirit, and
Yeah.
want to like just
Can I ask you then, what
pin
would
it
your
down
voice
to one.
be to change that?
What is that?
How would you have a voice to be able to change that?
How would you have a voice to change that? Well, if we're going to be promoters of science, I think we can get to the point where we
It
have
doesn't have to
this
be
like
that. It can
phones,
be
right?
whatever you want. It can be whatever you want.
Well, it comes to me right away to mind. It comes to me that now that we got to this point where we have like this little computers in our hands, that they can actually like translate live the languages, right? So it's gonna get to a point where we can actually talk with anyone
You mean
pretty
AI?
clearly. Yeah, call it AI, call it just the technology itself. Like, I mean, this type of technology of having the computer such accessible rate that we can finally start like kind of understanding each other. That like, oh, we are like, you want to talk with like some Chinese from the mountain. It has a total different freaking point of view of existence than you, but still is human. So you're gonna like find common ground, but we need a way to break that language barrier, right? That's kind of like the first. So I think if we can like find the Babel, they call it like that, the Babel fish or something. Remember that was from some novel, and there was this thing that they could like everybody was able to understand each other. So then we will be finally realizing that we're talking about the same shit. So that will help. That would be my guess.
Fair points.
Welcome, Dreamy Eye.
I don't know how we get there. I'd love to find out how we get there.
Yeah. Like I said, somebody just like little by little could be. I'm worried about like such our reliances on these things. Like right now, it's really cool, right? Because I'm talking with Phil, I'm talking with Dreamy and Lanny. Like, who knows where you guys are? It is just like telepathy. We're like here gathering and sharing our thoughts in this like a synthetic freaking thing. And it's all so like fragile, because I'm thinking every day that if we ever have like a massive solar flare or something and it burns out all this like electronics, like we are going to be in a setback that is going to be so insane for us.
Yeah, well, we've been there before, and we'll get there. We'll get back again. I mean, that's
happened before.
That's the thing about science. You take it all away, and it'll all get figured out, and it'll all come back in time. Ms. Bliss, welcome to the room.
Yeah,
thanks so much. I'm happy to be on. I'm congratulations for actually getting your live up and going. I was rooting for you earlier. For today.
Thank you. Hey, Michael.
Hey, man, how you doing?
Today is a special day because we crossed 2,000 today.
Well, hello, everybody else.
Yeah.
Nice job.
Michael,
how
introduce
you been,
yourself. This is my friend Michael who was from well, originally his own stuff. So you tell him about your stuff. The Bible says what? And then he was worked Skeptic Haven for a while. We worked together. So Michael, tell everybody about your stuff because you've got good stuff going on.
I appreciate it, Phil. No, I host a show called The Bible Says What, a weekly podcast where I talk to religious leaders from across the world about what they believe and why they believe it, using the Bible to do a lot of the back and forth there. So yeah, no, it's a lot of fun. Thanks, man.
And listen to that great voice too. And he's got a book, The Bible Says What, too. I'm just saying, you're one of those. I mean, I support a lot of people, obviously, but because I kind of support everybody. But
I like everybody.
You're one of the standouts here.
Awesome.
Oh, thanks, man. Appreciate that.
And you do
I didn't know you were on TikTok.
You do lives here now too, so.
Yeah, I do every once in a while. It's a lot of fun. It's very addicting.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, yeah. I've been doing TikTok here for about 3 months now.
Oh, nice.
So
nice. Well, I'm glad I found you on here.
Yeah, I'm on every other night. So Ms. Bliss,
every other night.
Every other night. Yeah, seems like a reasonable thing. Ms. Bliss, when you said you were rooting for me, when did you start following?
Just yesterday, but it was
man, just recently.
Just recently.
Oh wow. Well, cool. Thank you. I appreciate the follow. We're getting my numbers up. I'm on YouTube now. I'll do probably both, frankly, just because of the concern that TikTok may not be staying with us in the United States. Hopefully it will, but yeah, probably do.
Right, just as we're getting into it, it's going to go away.
I know. Yeah, this is the fear. But that's kind of always the fear with social media. Your account may go away in 3 seconds, and you don't know why.
I think it's so important to have alternative views, and I definitely think atheist is not represented. And I think that it's an important topic as we go into Christian nationalist, movements that are really taking over the country. And so I personally, my husband and myself both were raised Christian, went to church. My husband up until he was 50, and really through study of the Bible and being in church, became an atheist. And I didn't know what atheist was. I just know that he and I had the same views.
Awesome.
And really got to explore what that looks like and just understand that it's not all what we think it is and not one set definition, and that we can all still coexist.
Yeah. It is amazing after reading the Bible, you don't realize how much you dislike it.
It is amazing to me when people say, and I've run into them, so I'm not just saying it's unusual. Well, sometimes it's unusual to think that you could have never met an atheist or never spoken to an atheist. It shouldn't be that way. It should be easy, right? They shouldn't be scared of us. We don't believe in some of the stuff that they think we believe in, right? We're not like demon worshippers and things. We're not influenced by Satan. These sort of
we
things.
don't believe at all. It's a lack of belief.
I would bet that every single person here who's an atheist has read the Bible front to back.
I think so. Well, let's take a breath. We know Michael has, for sure. Ms. Bliss, have you read the Bible? Well, you've got Christian
again, my husband's the avid reader. He's definitely read it.
Yeah.
I think for me, I studied it off and on when I was younger, and then really looked for passages that, spoke to me, and, attended church after church. I tell people this story, but I actually went to about 19 churches in the span of about a year and a half, searching for a home church. And somehow, every time I showed up, it was the one day a year that they talk about the finances of the church and how badly they're doing in their budgets.
Somehow.
And yeah, I literally showed up and took a friend of mine with me. And each time we went, she said, not another presentation about the finances. I said, they see us coming. They see us coming. But literally that was me searching out and asking questions and wanting to go to different churches to get a different experience. And it was shocking that I really was in that search mode at that time when I was younger, and it just, nothing was connecting. And she went on to marry her husband, who's a pastor, and actually has a very religious relationship. And we sit down and talk about it on a regular basis. But I just really wish that people would understand that there's many, many atheists that have really searched and really made an attempt to connect or find a place or feel welcome or connect with God. And that's, part of my journey that I appreciate, actually.
I would like to make an argument about what you said of the atheists being kind of vessels of Satanism or such. I mean,
that's fun. But I'm gonna dip out real quick. I'm sorry, you asked your question away, but I'm gonna dip out real quick. Thanks, Phil.
Wait. I want everybody to see your book.
Oh, I appreciate it. It's okay not to believe.
Let me get a screenshot of your book.
It's the Bible Says What, actually, is the title of his book.
I love reading about all of this. So please, let me get this screenshot.
Is this a new one, Mike?
No, that's just the design me and my wife created.
So it's the Bible Says What is the business.
You can find me at thebiblesaswhat.com.
Yeah.
All right. That's good enough, I get.
Thanks, guys.
I appreciate it. Like black and red.
Back to work, Mike.
Yeah, thanks.
Take care. He's a really good guy. He's such a good interviewer. Check out his podcast on YouTube, too. His videos. He's a very, very skilled interviewer. So
I can find his name out based on his book.
Michael Weissman.
Okay.
Wiseman.
I'll find it.
So Phil, do you want to listen to this argument for the sake of fun?
Yes. Please start up again. Go back to your question.
So you mentioned that like people think that atheists are like related to Satan somehow, and I can see why some people would like enter that conclusion, because if we would take the point of like, well, the atheist is kind of like the lack of God, right? Let's say you're like kind of like an empty vessel. You have to like fill that vessel with the belief in matter. That's why I think a lot of atheists are like kind of like obsessed with the science, right? Because it's like,
why do you have to fill it? If it's a point of ignorance or an ignorance gap or whatever, why do you have to fill it?
Well, because you have to explain yourself, the existence itself, right? So you yourself said that, for example, there's no spirit, right? You're just like a human body. Yeah. So let's say that all the atheists think like this, right? So they get obsessed by matter, right? That what matters is matter. Mm-hmm. So that.
Well, okay, go ahead.
Just doing an argument. Like, let me finish it. So everybody gets obsessed, right, with matter. Matter, what's matter, and that would explain like in this secular world, as we are like not putting the spirit on front, but we're putting like the body in front, right? Like, so we're like primordially a body that lives through this like earth, and there's like land, and you can measure stuff and get stuff, and like then it comes money, right? Like that's why like they're so obsessed about money, right? And then like money over people, right? You were like kill for money. Like it's nowadays you see it all over. We just like, it's more important money than like somebody's life. So I can see some people saying like, oh, if you're just like get the society that is godless, then this happens. They become Satanists in the sense of like the obsession with matter, right? Because if I'm not mistaken, in that mythology, the devil itself, it tempts you with matter, right? It's kind of like you're trapped in this like matter prison or something, right? But you don't realize, and then comes God and tells you, no, you're actually a spiritual being, and you can actually like, kind of like transcend this, right? I think it can be somewhere there.
Can I bring up 2 points? Mm-hmm. In the Bible, there's never a mention of the devil or Satan.
Yeah.
Cool. Where the hell it comes from?
No, there's never a mention of either one of those things.
Explain it to him if he's not aware.
Yeah. So.
Good.
So, well, I'll just as best as I can remember, there's never a mention of either one of Satan or the devil in the Bible.
Okay.
Well, who's the one who tempts him in the desert? What do you remember what they call that?
Lucifer. Yeah.
Lucifer.
And he's the bringer of light. And the light bringer actually provides the humans with fire.
Like Prometheus or something?
I can't remember exactly. He provides the humans with fire in order to light fires and be a part of I don't remember exactly. It's been a while since I read the Bible fully through.
Yeah. What I remember people saying is that he is referred to as the adversary.
Right. Yeah, it should be like the antithesis of the spirit, right? That's what I was trying to imply. That is like matter should be like equivalent with Lucifer, Satan, or whatever name you want to give it. Just like this other frequency
Satan
that is
has
like
never been a name in the Bible.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, for the sake of the just a experiment, thought experiment.
There's never been a Satan in the Bible.
Well, okay, hold on here. Let's not get too semantic here. So in the Bible, you're right. Lucifer is the Latin word that appears in Isaiah, etc. It's a translation of which means shining one, morning star, the planet Venus, or as an adjective, light bringing. In Christian theology, Lucifer is commonly used as a name for the devil, even though it's not, like you say, literally in the Bible.
Right.
The association. So this is really a cultural thing, especially after Dante's Inferno, right?
Right.
So, which is a novel, not a holy book in any sense.
That's another one of my favorite books.
Yeah, it just goes to show you how confused we are, right? Like all this stuff.
Well, confusion is probably the wrong word. It's just that, these things sometimes drift culturally, and we inappropriately make attachments to things that are not actually attached. We're pretty common at that, because I mean, look at the memory lapses we have right just within this room. It's a very common thing to do, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I guarantee you some of the memories you have from age 4 are probably dreams or something.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, there's many times where I'm not sure if I'm dreaming or if I actually lived that.
So Satan, in the 3 major Abrahamic religions, Satan and Lucifer both refer to the prince of evil spirits and the chief adversary of God. So it is not just biblical. It is biblical plus cultural plus people's interpretation of the stories and
right.
But I mean, so do you believe that Lucifer is an actual being?
Well, I was trying to make how do you call it, like a representation. Let's use that name of whatever. Like I just call it the shadow, right? Like the matter, like the fact of matter being as a thing that is like the famous kind of like a sacred lie, right? Because it's tangible, but at the same time, it's not everything. It's hard to explain, right? Because if you see yourself as a spiritual being, right? Let's say, so there is like a whole universe, right? And you're like here in a moment, but if you don't take that into account, you're just existing here, right? So what concerns you is here. But if you're like, I don't know, like some spiritual being like Jesus, you're like not concerned so much about here, right? Because you're like, well, this is just like one of the many realms of like
Jesus wasn't a spiritual realm. He was a man.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like some kind of man that is like putting the spirit over matter, right?
No, he was a man.
Yeah, but he embodied like that God spirit of like he can fucking walk on water, like he was just like beyond the what he was, like a walking miracle, let's say, right? Like the glitch in the Matrix.
I don't even know
how to respond.
I don't know how to respond to that either. Do you really think he walked on water, or let somebody else talk? Yeah.
And any of the new people, you can kind of join in anytime. When I let this many people in, it's really becomes a room conversation. So,
like for real, there's no way. Has anybody watched the new movie that came out? What is it? It's on Netflix. I can't remember. Something about Jesus.
There's the Chosen is a new series.
No, it's a movie.
I don't know what you're referring to.
It's a more real version of Jesus, that he was a thief. He was a black man. He was a thief. Got caught. Then became a man of God by being baptized. then helped everybody that he could help. And then the miracles happened where he walked on water, where he turned water into wine. That's a more realistic point of view to me of where the story of Jesus came from than these stories from the Bible that honestly are more about Jesus's mother being an alcoholic.
Yeah, there's not a lot of detail. I mean, we don't even meet the character until he's 30. So,
God, I gotta look it up.
Yeah. So welcome.
Talking about the Book of Clarence.
The Book of Clarence. Thank you. That's the most realistic depiction of Jesus that I've ever seen.
Because it's realistic.
Or is it the Romans? It had what's his name that plays in Split? Oh man, he's a great actor.
Not McGowan. What's his name? Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, he played Pontius Pilate. I guess their idea was to go with more European people playing Romans, and then they had black people. Yeah. Then they had black people playing the Israelites.
Well, Jesus was black.
You think so?
100%.
Yeah, I'm not claiming whether or not he was or not. I'm just telling you that in the movie, that's what they did in the depiction. I thought it was pretty cool how they did it with the I thought it was pretty cool. But yeah, I don't know what color Jesus was.
Well, we figure we're in the Mediterranean. So
where do you think he lived? Yeah, exactly. Where do you think he lived? He was black, man. No question.
Sure. Yeah, I wouldn't dispute it. Either way, it wouldn't matter to me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's Rome too. So there's that's Caucasian. There's Arab.
The race of it doesn't matter. It's what actually happened.
Yeah. I would agree.